We like to create conversation. Arrow.net, ARROE.net. We are unplugged and totally uncut with Sonali Dev.
Hi, Arrow. How are you this morning?
I am doing absolutely fantastic, and I hope you are as well.
I am, thank you. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you absolutely well, in a big way, because, I mean, and you know what's really interesting about this conversation is the fact that your words are going to be heard, too, in the wedding setup. I love this, the way that you write and the way that you are bringing tradition forward.
Thank you. That's exactly what I'm trying to do, so I'm glad you picked that up. Thank you.
Well, there's a lot of people on this side of the world that don't understand, the traditional Indian wedding and stuff. I'm a mobile DJ. I've had the blessed opportunity to participate with a lot of, Indian style weddings. It's beautiful and it's full of family celebration.
It sure is. It is. I mean, I think you hit that on the head. An Indian wedding, at my wedding, if you had told me this is about, this is your day, the newer young kids these days are like, this is your day. It was my family's day. It was my mom's dream. It was what my mom and dad had been waiting to do from the day I was born. So, yeah, family is a huge, huge part of it. And that's really, I think, why we go, to meet family we haven't seen in the longest time, to dance and celebrate and eat. And then we're reminded ever so often, this is about the bride and groom. And we're like, really?
and it really is probably the only wedding ceremony I've ever been to where it's okay to get up, go get something to eat, and come back in.
Yes. And you know what's funny? I think these days, a lot of young Indian American couples are trying to merge the two. They're trying to do this fusion wedding, and you're kind of expected to sit there for the long 2-hour ceremony, and it's horrifying to those of us who are used to, we go do our own thing because it lasts for like 4 hours. and so I think that trying to capsule it down and make it both things, it basically is a metaphor for all our Indian American lives, is that we're trying to combine these two things that are so vastly different, and a wedding is like the perfect, I think the perfect metaphor for that, which is funny.
One of the things that you put into the book, The Wedding Setup, is the fact that I almost feel like that you're also being a teacher so that you can educate all generations of what really takes place in the world of love when it comes to Indian weddings, as well as the relationships before and after, I should say.
Yes, actually, I find myself in this situation of being a mother to a 21-year-old and a daughter to a 75-year-old. So I'm perfectly in that space where I get to, be the kind of daughter who thinks her mother's a dinosaur and understands nothing. And I get to be on the other side where I have a daughter who thinks I am that. And all I want is for her to be happy, and I can clearly see what hurts her. So I'm right in the middle of that. And I think to me, the wedding setup is really about that, those two points of view in that relationship, both of which come from this place of the kind of love that's not replicated in any other relationship. And so it's really more about that. It's the mother and the daughter finding their way around grief and finding their way around having lost themselves to this tragedy. And I think marriage is kind of such a, has become such a representation of happiness, or has become such a stand-in word. So a happy marriage, almost has become a stand-in for a happy life. Mm-hmm. And especially in stories, the whole happily ever after is really about finding yourself and being happy enough with yourself to let love in. So the whole thing is really more about that. And then reconnecting with an old love in this story is more really about reconnecting with the person she has lost, who was herself.
Well, you speak of that losing things and stuff like that. I mean, at first, Ayesha, she loses her brother, she loses her dreams and her independence. So therefore, she gives herself to her mother, because she wants to be that person in her mother's life that's going to be there. And I find that very interesting, because I see a lot of people doing that today. And I think that every generation will learn so much from this, and because they're either experiencing it or they're about to experience it.
Yeah, and I mean, don't we think, we think we're so much better than previous generations in terms of what we know, and the world is constantly changing. But to lose the wisdom Because the wisdom is really the thing that, that we get through multi-generational relationships. And I think that without that wisdom, all the knowledge we have and everything we know about our world is really, useless. And so that kind of is, and grief is one of those things that is absolutely constant across cultures, across time. It's not going anywhere. And so to have, have grief be the theme through which we learn how we deal with life in general, how it goes on, how we have to access the fear of being hurt before we can heal it. And, so that's something, watching how people have done it before us teaches us how we can, do it better, how we can not lose ourselves. And again, losing yourself to grief is something that is universal and it is cross-generational. So it's the perfect kind of thing that connects us across generations and across humanity.
You are so right about that when you say that we will injure ourselves before the event takes place. And I feel like that so many times I've mentioned that to people. Don't write the story, live the life, and then write the story. Because just so many times I'm just preparing myself if something goes wrong. Don't even put it out there.
Yeah, and the old adage where they say write what you know, and it used to always confuse me when I first started writing. I was like, yeah, but I don't know what it is to be a Doctors Without Borders doctor. So how will I ever write that story? But that's not what you're writing. What you're writing is the human experience of that person, and the human experience is what you've had. And so what are my human experiences? My human experiences of existing in a family and trying to reconcile that with personal freedom, my experiences of living across two cultures and trying really to enjoy that. And I moved 8,000 miles in my 20s, and I didn't do that lightly. And so to make the best of that, those are my experiences, and those experiences fit into, any kind of profession, any kind of life. So it's really those experiences. So you're absolutely right. Like, that's what we're writing about, right?
Would you say that every one of us have an Emmitt Hughes in our life, somebody who comes from out of nowhere? We know the past history and stuff like that, but there's something about to happen when you have an Emmitt Hughes in your life.
Well, I think that we have all felt connection. Mm-hmm. So we have all felt meeting that one person or those people who just make us feel different. So whether it is, it's how we make friends. You can be at a party and there are 100 people there, but there is that one person who talks to you and you just connect differently. And I think it has to do with how we want to be seen. So we're constantly looking for a connection where a person sees us the way we want to be seen, rather than a holographic projection of their own mind, stereotypes or whatever, right? We want to be seen a certain way. And I think the true connection of friendship or love is finding that person who sees right through to that, and we're constantly searching for that. So I think that, again, is a constant, and Emmitt Hughes is that. He is a person who sees Ayesha exactly the way she wants to be seen, even before she has seen herself that way, even after she has lost the ability to see herself that way. And I think we all have access to that. Like, as I'm talking to you, the people who just feel different in your life.
Oh, what a beautiful story. You've got to come back to this show anytime in the future. The door is always going to be open for you. Be brilliant today.